Hi folks. So we're going to get started with a tutorial today, in fact let me just switch the camera on so that for this bit you can see me, because you need to see me. Hello. Hey, yeah, text that way. Wait, get down. Thank you. Right. So, what are we doing today? Right, so we're starting off with a milk flow tutorial, and hopefully you can... Hello, now you can probably hear me better. Apologies for that. So, yes, we are starting off with how to do the milk float. So we did, a little while ago, we did the milk float, which is a sort of thing on the Portsmouth Direct line. And it's a bit of fun. Involves driving the little milk float car around some of the bits of the PDL line on the roads. And I've had a number of people saying, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do I add that to routes so I can do it in different ones? So I thought I would do a tutorial of it, because to actually get it set up isn't quite straightforward. Once you get going, you're all right. So that's the reason the game's not running yet, because we've got a little bit of fudging to do outside of the game in the file system. That's why you're seeing my Windows desktop and all the myriad of icons flashing away on the bottom. So, what we're going to start off with is we've got to make two changes. One of them is a necessity, the other one just makes life a million times easier. So the first thing is the milk float itself is a train, but it's not actually visible. Prince Sterling says, oh no, look at the bottom left of his taskbar. Why? What's that all about? Yeah, so if it is just a train. If you don't make this change, you can't see it. It doesn't actually come up. So, and the reason is because it's not actually marked as being a visible train, so it's hidden away. What we need to do is unhide it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the train, the main folder for Train Simulator. So you'll find that in Steam. So Program Files, Steam, Steam Apps, Common Railworks, or Program Files x86. Steam, Steam Apps, Common Railworks. And I have Internet Explorer, yes, I don't use it. I just haven't unhooked it. And underneath the Railworks folder, we're going to be going into Assets, and then we're going to be going into RSC, and then we're going to be going into Guildford District, which is this one. So, in Guildford District, we need to go to the Scenery folder. And this is where it gets a little bit odd, because you think trains are in rail vehicles, but the milk float isn't. The milk float is under Scenery, it's under Vehicles, Milk Float. Right, now, we need to make a change in here. Let me just clean that file out of the way so it's not there. Right, that's what you will have. I now need to bring up something else so that we can actually decode that file. So let me just bring the file up first. So what I've done here is, I've gone to the main Railworks folder, and inside there is this little thing called SIRS. And what we're going to do is take milkfloat.bin here, and we need to drag and drop milkfloat.bin down to SIRS here, and then drop it. You'll notice this little file called milkfloat appears here as a type XML file. So, what you need to do is right click, edit with Notepad. And now we're at this bit. So in here, we've got lots of stuff. Unfortunately, there's no easy way around this. What I'm probably going to do is do a blog article about this, and I'll put the the changed versions of these files somewhere you can download them, so that you just have to drop them in the right place. But for those that want to get going in right now, this is the first file we need to edit, and we need to put the name in here. Now if we scroll down here, I believe the name's already here, so here it is, X milkfloat X. So if we mark that and copy with Control C, that's the engine name, and then up the top here you've got the name, and we just put in the middle here and we paste. So that's in between the angle brackets, so we paste that. And then under the localized version and English, we need to do the same thing. That, I think, is all we need to do. So at this point, the milk float will now come up as a drivable loco when you're adding new things. Right. So apologies if this is a bit going over your heads to start off with. Like I said, I will come up with a tutorial on my blog, and I will put the these changed files on there, so you just have to drop them in if you're interested in doing this. You need to make this change. You don't need to make the second change I'm about to do, but it makes life so much easier. Right, so that's the first one. What we need to do now is if we just drag the milk float file back over onto SIRS, then you'll notice the date time gets updated in milkfloat.bin. So effectively, if you drop the bin file on SIRS, it creates the XML. If you drop the XML file on SIRS, it creates the bin, and you need to have the bin file. Right. So, alright, so I guess I need to make myself unavailable on Steam Friends. Thanks. Let's try that again, shall we? Right. So that's the first change. The second change we need to make is under Guildford District Rail Network track. In here we've got this GD Inv Road. This is the invisible road, the Guildford District invisible road. Basically what this is, it's like track that doesn't exist. Even though it says road, you're laying track. But this is the road for the milk float. Hey PDO 407, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. Enjoyed your Weird Express scenario last night. Right, so what we need to do is repeat this process. So we drag and drop that onto SIRS, and we get the XML file. Might have to press F5 for it to come up, and we'll edit it with Notepad. Looking in this file, we have a whole section about cross-section stuff. Don't worry about the detail. The point is there's nothing in here at all, which means that when you try and lay the track, it will just be completely invisible, which is what you want to end up with, but it makes it very difficult to actually lay the track. So I'm just going to put that away down here for a moment. What we need to do is put something a little bit more sensible in there that we can see. So I've gone back up to Guildford District, scenery, fences and walls, and then I'm going to have a look at fence picket post. So we're going to drag and drop that onto SIRS. Again, I do apologise, this is very complicated. And we're going to edit that into Notepad. So now we've got both these files up in Notepad. I'm using a tool called Notepad++. I just find it it makes my life a lot easier. It's free, you can download it, and it's very good. That doesn't seem to be in the file I needed to pick up. Wally. That's the loft I should have picked up, actually. So let's go with fence wood. Let's try dropping that one on SIRS, and we'll edit that one in Notepad. That's the one we're looking for. This C section, a cross-section render blueprint. Now in here we've got stuff in cross-section IDs and so forth. So what we're going to do is take the entire contents of that C section render blueprint and then copy it and put it into Inv Road. That goes in there. So what that does is it makes this Inv Road look exactly like a picket fence. Right, what we do before we save that is we make a backup of what we had before. So if I come back to here, and I'm just going to make a copy of that Inv Road and I'll put it on the desktop, just out of the way. That way we can always copy it back later on, because when you finish doing your road, you're going to want to copy it back again, so that the fence goes away, because it's going to look silly driving with the fence in the way. So if we now go back to Notepad++ and save that file, and then take GD Inv Road XML and drop it onto SIRS, hopefully all of the boring, tedious, complicated stuff is now done. So on that basis, it's time to fire up some Steam goodness. Shut up. USB. Why not just make a copy of the bin file? You could indeed do that, Ed. Okay, we'll start up in just a moment. Let me just flick it over to here. Right. I'm going to turn the promo off. We don't need the promo. And we don't need the map thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually switch to changing route for a minute because I need to hide magical things, and I'm just going to describe what I'm doing. So, in Build menu, and we go into the Route tab. Now I'm going to do this on South London Network, so find South London Network, and you need to click Clone, which is in the bottom. It says the name of default to copy of South London Network. Let's call it South London Network Milk Float Road. Don't tick the clone scenarios, we don't need that, and we click the clone button. Now, I know you can't see it at the moment, it's because I have to hide this bit because all of my routes are listed in here, and that's not very good. So you now find South London Network Milk Float Road in the list of editable routes, and click the edit button. Now I can go back to the game. Sorry about that. Right, now we're back. Now we get to have a half fun, half mega frustrating time. So if we click on the crosshair here and find Crystal Palace, and then get ourselves above the ground. So I'm going to do this in Crystal Palace. You can obviously choose any route you like to do this on, but since I've been playing about with this particular route, I know that this is quite an interesting place to start. So if we were to start our milk float, and what I'm going to do is run him along this road, and then we get to a level crossing here, which doesn't have a level crossing, so we'll have to fix that in a minute. Then we come out and we're going to turn left down this road here, go down this road, and then we're going to turn left down this road and come down here, and turn right down here, and left here. So what we're doing actually is following the track. So the track is just there, look. So the idea is, if you're going to do something like this, make it follow the track. Take it, because the further you get away from the track, the less good the scenery is going to get. Yep, cross the track over. Crossing the track is also a very good technique. So we could go up here, and then we can go down this road. There's a lot of things we can do. I'm not going to go much further than this, but you can follow the road, and as you can see, you can cross it back over again, and you can come along here. That's probably about as far as you're going to get because of the road there. But there's things you can do, and bear in mind that you don't want to go too silly, so that people can still remain interested in it. It is supposed to be a novelty after all. Now, here we are, we're back where we're supposed to start again. So how do we get started? Stephen Jam, is it possible instead of a milk float to have a standard car? You can go in and hack the file and change it to a standard car, yes. Obviously you can't then share that on Workshop. If you want to share it on Workshop, then you'll need to leave the assets as you can make the changes that I've just suggested, because you don't the end users don't need those changes. If you want the end users to have your changes, then it can't go on Workshop. But if you don't mind it not going on Workshop, you can make it, buses or cars, anything you like, just by changing the reference. There'll be a reference to a milk float GOP-CDX file, and you can put that in there. Right. So there are two ways of laying the road. I'm going to turn the cameras off now, because no one needs to see those anyway. Turn all the background images off. Right. What I have done, or what it says, there are two ways of laying the track. The first thing we're going to do is go into the track menu. Remember that even though it's a road we're laying, it's technically track, because it's basically a train that looks like a milk float. So click on the blue icon over here. We want RSC, and then we want Guildford District. Right, so that's enabled all the Guildford District, and GD Inv Road, which is what we hacked, is now here. Now if we just draw a bit of track. This is one way of doing it. It is not the best way of doing it. You can make your line, you can draw some track. Just works like rendering normal track. Click. Look, see, we've got fence. It means you can now see where that road is going. If we now carry on and go around this corner, we start to see a bit of a problem. Trying to keep this lined up with the road is going to be a pain. You're going to be wobbling all over the place like some kind of drunken fool. See, it's a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy. It's a way of doing it. You could now go into free roam. Fringe Starling, how are you going to put this on workshop if you cloned the route? Just put the workshop route on put the workshop route onto Steam. Yeah, so the route that you've cloned you can put onto Steam Workshop. Are you making route changes? This is not done as a scenario. You're making route changes, so you have to do that. So you clone the route, upload the route. So if we now go back to Crystal Palace, and find where are we? Oh, here we go, over here. So we have our fence once it's finished loading all the assets. Right, so we have our fence, and the idea is that that fence doesn't stay there. Once you're happy with it and you've laid everything that you want it to be, you then go back and put that road back the way it was, and the fence disappears, but the road is still there, so you can still drive on it. Right, if we click here, remember this is a free roam scenario, we made this visible, so we've typed that in, and we can now drop the milk float down. So we can put the milk float anywhere where we want so that it sits on the track, and the track is marked by the fence, and we can put driver in him, and then we can press the play button and we can drive it. So we click on him and then we can drive. Right, now there are a number of problems with this. Firstly was the wobbling all over the place. Secondly, it's flying. That's fixable. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And secondly, it's not going to be flying, and now it's buried in the ground, and then it's going to be flying again. So there's a height problem we need to deal with. But that's done exactly the same way as you normally would do it with track. Obviously, when you run out of track, it'll derail. Okay, back to the route, which you can't do once it's crashed. Bam, I'm going to show the Rio Grande F7 as the third thing tonight. Right, so I'm going to press replay and then edit. So fundamentally, basically what I've done there is I've shown you everything you need to know to basically get a milk float scenario working, believe it or not. Now what we're doing is we're going through some of the better ways of sorting this out. So while I was playing with it, I figured out a few tricks and techniques which will help you. But let's first cover this. So, remembering that this is just track, Magnus say by technically you can just throw the milk float on the main tracks. Absolutely. You certainly can. That's the main reason I think it's hidden by default, is because otherwise it would let you do crazy things that don't make any sense. So if we go back into the track tab up in the top left corner here, and we look at this gradient tool, we can see all the different gradient markers, and what we can do is we can add our own, because this is just track after all. So we can click and then we can move it up and down. Oh no, that's the road. And herein lies the fiddliness of it all, because this is in the same place as the road, and trying to get this to actually work is a pain. That's still going to do the road. So this is where it starts getting really fiddly. Now imagine you've got all of this lot, and this is as the road has been made to go up to the level crossing. We're going to try and make the level cross our road, which pretty much follows the path of that, but not quite, do the same thing. So this is where it's going to get really fiddly. So I'll tell you what, we'll not do it like that anymore, because that's just awkward. It's wrong. It's really difficult. So what we need to do now is delete this, and we'll do it again properly. The easy way, where it basically lays most of the track for you, and it does it much better. First thing we're going to need to do is go and delete that milk float, because we can't edit track that's got a train on. Right, so let's go back to here. Someone said it was over in Penge. I might have to see if I can work out what the right station name is and do it properly. So if we delete that and go back to the track editor, now we can edit stuff. Talk amongst yourselves. Milk float with a jet train on the back. That sounds like an interesting idea. However, the milk float on its own is very easy to bring off the track. So here, we've got to try and get rid of this bit of track now. Right, let's get rid of that. And that. So, all of those who are familiar with the route editing tools, who has used the offset tool? Because that is the answer to all of our problems. So what we do is we come back to the beginning and we fire up the selection. It's a square dotted thing in the corner, and we mark by clicking, and we follow it. You can't do the turns though, so you're going to have to take it up to the straights here. So that's our first section, and now what we're going to do is click the offset tool, which is that one. Now those yellow lines are where it's going to put roads if we leave it the way it is. So now what we can do is change that to 2. No, I think on this road 1. Possibly even we should drive in this. No, that's probably not too bad actually. We'll go with that. Apologies, I'm not seeing much of the chat at the moment. If you've got questions, then flag them up with one of the moderators and get so that they can shout at me to give you answers. If it's not about this particular tutorial, hold off until the next scenario where I'll be more able to answer questions, general questions. Right, now over here with the offset tool you've got these arrows. This is where it's actually going to place the assets, and the asset in question is a road asset. It's our invisible road asset. It's that one. So if we go here and we click on there, look, it's done the road for us. It's actually done the road all the way around the corner. It beautifully follows, and it follows the gradient, and we get to the end. Now we can do the same thing again here. So if we, bear in mind the centre of the road is where the track line is, so if we take it from this road up to here where we want to turn, and we go up to here, and we do the same thing again, offset tool. This time we can make this more like about 2, that seems reasonable, and we click invisible road. Now we need to find those yellow markers, which I think are this end, yep, and we can put that in once it's loaded the asset. Right, now you can see we have fancy goodness, which is really easy. So I'll lay one more stretch in just to show you how easy that is, and then we'll set about joining some of it up. So we click the select tool. We'll, if you miss, then just try again. So click the select tool. That's it. Right. Follow it round the corner. You might need to do it bit at a time just to get it to follow you. Right, it'll only go to here because actually that's not joined up to the next piece of road, so we're going to have to do that ourselves. So we'll come up to here and we'll stop. Alright, now let's click the offset tool and fly around the back here, and then we'll put our invisible road in there. Right, now again, that's actually done quite a complex job for us, because this bit of road turns corners, goes down hills and all sorts of things. So it's doing quite a bit of work for us. You can adjust it, and because we're now slightly off of the centre line, it's much easier to adjust, because now we're not getting mixed up with what's in the centre over here. We can still do that. Right, now our first port of call, let me just have a look at the chat and see what's happening. Fully interactive milk float, yep. Is it the same way to do it for all car and vans and buses? If you want to add this roadway on, then it's basically exactly the same way. You'll need to make assets though to make it work. If you want stops to deliver milk via the splaying to the side, yeah, I mean, if you want to get complicated laying the track, you absolutely can do, but what I would say is you're going to get sick of it real quick. Trust me on that. Trying to do complicated track with track work that's half invisible and getting mixed up with all the other things, it's really going to be a problem. When you've selected the fences, will the milk float connect to them? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Basically, you consider the fence to be track, and then when you get into the free roam scenario, it just will try and connect to it the same way it would as if it was track. Right, so let's get this bit of road joined up. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do actually is get rid of this bit of fence, because the road will turn at a minimum angle, so we're actually going to cut across here a bit, and this is where things get a little bit less nice, because the road expects you to be able to turn on a hairpin. You actually can't. You're also possibly going to want to think about moving this house a bit out of the way, so that you're not expecting people to drive through it. We'll get rid of that bit of fence as well. Right, so joining this track up is exactly the same as if you did normal track. So you'll notice you've got your marker here. We want to join that up over there. So if we pick a point, say about here, press the control key, means it will snap to the track, and then release it. Now look what it's done. It's actually put track here. The fence has gone. Yeah, so the fence has gone from this bit, and there's track and the fence there. That's because it's rendering it. All the rendering for junctions is done dynamically. And what you need to do now is basically stop it being a junction by selecting the track. That's got one of them gone. So now this one carries on this way. So if we get rid of that one, no, not that one. Where are you? There you go. So we found it. So that's now done our joint. This is where I say where it gets a bit fiddly, because you've got to sort these things out. Now, what we do need to do is weld this all back together again. So there's the square box on there, so we need to just weld that. Make sure everything looks good. Right, I think what we need to do now is test that bit and see how we get on. Yep, you're going to go off-road for a bit there. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do. Now, bear in mind that you are actually uploading your own version of the route. There's nothing to stop you borrowing an asset like a bit of road and actually putting something else in here so that it's not quite as bad. You can customize this. Right, let's get this and give it a quick test. So back to running a scenario. Average Joe Twitch says you could say this scenario is legendary. That's don't milk it. Wait for it to finish saving. It's a big route, South London network, which means that saving is going to take a bit of time each iteration. Right, once we get in, let's go back to Did someone say Penge? Let's give going to Penge a shot, shall we? I don't recognise it. Maybe it's the other Penge. Let's try the other one. No, okay, let's go to Crystal Palace. I'm obviously a bit blind at the moment. I can't see what I'm wanting to see. Let's go to Crystal Palace. I know how to get there from Crystal Palace. Don't give up the dairy job. Oh dear, oh dear. So over here, there we are, there's my magical fence. And we find the milk float. Pop it on. And we put the put that on, and then we click the play button. Right, so we select the milk float. One of the things you'll notice, okay, it's actually a little bit on the low side, so you'll need to, what you want to do is just go and raise the track just slightly. But if we give it a go and just see what it looks like, you'll notice it's a considerably nicer ride than we had in the previous manually written track. Come around the corner. You'll notice it actually goes up as we get above the so we rise ourselves up above the onto the track junction, and then we come down, and then we hope this worked correctly, and we go around the corner now. Nope. Why did I know that was going to happen? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, let's replay. Edit that and go back to the Crystal Palace. We want to be... I've lost where I'm going. There it is. So this track hasn't joined correctly. I did wonder. It doesn't look right. So if we get rid of that curve, see there's another bit here. That's probably where it went wrong. That's the road. So what I've found sometimes is you need to move the road. Yeah. The problem is that the road is actually raised, and all the track is underneath it. So what you might want to do is just lift. No, that's not what I wanted to lift. Get back where you are. Lift the road out the way. Go underneath it, and then you can perhaps see what you're trying to do a little bit more clearly. Did I say this was going to be finicky, by the way? Did I say that? There you go, we found it. We can get rid of that bit of track. Right. What I'm also going to do is raise this bit of track up so that we can see more clearly. Raise that bit of road up. We can put it all back again in a minute, but let's get it out of our way so we can see what we're doing. Otherwise we're just going to sit here forever getting it wrong. So now let's try and lay another piece of track, and we'll do that by going around the corner here. And that's it, that's joined. And that looks significantly better than it did previously. Right, so let's have a look at welds. Doesn't look like we have any we need to do. So now we need to get the roads all put back down on the ground again. The curves are a bit like this, to be honest. They're a little bit fiddly. Some of them are going to go down really, really nicely, and some of them are just not. They're just not. Have we got that down to about the right level now? Oops. What are you doing up there? What we need to do then is get hold of your gradient and just smoosh you down. Sometimes moving the road breaks it, so we just need to just move that down to join up with that one. Move that down to about there, and then we'll get hold of this one. Move that road down. Too far. Right. How does it look? That's almost joined up. Obviously when you do this, if any of you are going to be brave enough to do it, then you can do it better and take more care over it. Let's push that back down. Right. So we've now got our first corner in, and we've joined it up, and it's all looking good. So you probably want me to prove that it works, don't you? I don't want to, because it probably doesn't. Copper Mouse says, hold shift to move in smaller portions. Excellent. C. Rogers, scenario is for where Dale is on workshop. If you can pass details to Darkness Monster, he can get it onto my playlist. Right. This is going to work. This is going to work. Press Alt F4 to rage quit. Yeah. To be honest, once I got into the flow of it this weekend, I actually managed to get the milk float driving quite a long way. It's just, as I say, it's just about getting into the flow of what you're actually trying to do. Let's put that back. Because we've messed about with the track, it's sort of moved around a bit, which means when you try and start a scenario it would fail, so relay it. Would this be much easier with your own routes? Possibly. It's still having the same problem with interfering lofts. So one of the things that people notice when Dovetail puts screenshots out of routes that don't have third rail on them, and should have third rail on them, and there's always lots of, where's the third rail? The reason is because once the third rail goes down, everything becomes really difficult from that point on because of all the splines talking to each other and interfering, getting in the way. And that's why the third rail is basically one of the last things that goes down, because once that's down, fixing bugs is a real nightmare. Right, let's get back into milk flow. And we'll drive away. Honk honk. There's no horn on this. Go around the corner. See, you know what's nice? If you're doing a scenario like this, put trains on the track so you can see stuff going on. That's a really nice touch if you can do that, because this is a different way of seeing the route, which is also a good reason for keeping it near the track, because that's where the effort is spent by the artists. Once you get away from the track, it doesn't work quite so well. Are there lights? There's no lights on the vehicle. Yes. Look at that. So there are no lights on the vehicle, but what you can add street lights. There's no reason why you can't add street lights. So that's about as far as it's going to go, because we haven't done the next corner. And I've given you an idea of how to do the next corner. So really, that is sort of what I'd recommend as your technique for putting this stuff together, is use the section tool to I'm just going to go back to the editor now, because there's a couple of other things I want to show you. use the section, the marking tool with the offset tool to actually lay the majority of the roadway, and then get the curves down, and if necessary move things out of the way so you can put the curve down, then put it back again. So let me go back to Crystal Palace. And the first few times you do it, it's not going to go smoothly. There will be rage quitting, but you'll get the hang of it, and then you'll have a lot of fun. So there's the question of this, and I thought this isn't particularly a milk float thing. This is more just a general thing that I didn't know how to do before the weekend, and I thought, since I now know how to do it, I thought I'd pass the information on. So if I can find it in here. It was in here. Right, hold on a second, folks. I'll be right back. I'll let you know what I've done when I figured out what I need to do. It's not working quite as smoothly as I'd hoped. I'm missing an asset, basically. Once I've figured out where I want to get that asset from, we'll be golden. I do apologise, folks. I do apologise. I'll be with you in a moment. Oh, I know why I can't find it. Well, I thought I had planned ahead, and then it wasn't showing up, and I'm thinking, why isn't it showing up? Why isn't it? Where is it? I think I know why it isn't showing up, and I will suitably embarrass myself in a moment and actually say what I've done wrong. Assuming I'm not wrong. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Perfect. Found it. Found it. Right. So, what I've added now is Gemmel. I've added Gemmel into the list of assets because what I want is a level crossing. Now you'll find level crossings in a number of different routes. I've just found one here, which is what we're going to do. So, I was actually using a tutorial. I rather badly can't remember the guy's name now that I watched. It's a really excellent tutorial, actually, very simple, short and to the point, which is probably not what I'm exactly not what I'm going to be, and it did a good job. So I'll try and remember where that was and post a link. And if anyone recognises it and knows who it is, then you can by all means post a link on the forum, on the Twitch chat. Sorry. So let's put this level crossing down and have a bit of fun with it. So if we click it and put it down. That's not what I wanted to do at all. Right, let's try that again. Why did that move like that? Stop being awkward. So let's put the level crossing down. The first thing that we put down is a link onto the track. So we left click onto the track. Now he wants to know about any more links to the track, and we don't have any, so we right click. Now it wants to know about links to the road. So we click on the road, about there, and then we click on the road again here. And that wants to know about any more links, and we've run out of links on the road, so we right click. we have now placed the level crossing. It will now work. If we click on it, we can see all of the linkages. So if you have multiple tracks protected by it, you could link all of those. And if you have multiple roads coming in, like a highway, you can link all of those. Now it's important, it's crucially important, that the arrows all face inbound, face inwards. So what you need to do is make sure that this is pointing that way by pressing the shift key. Yeah, with a no shift key and with a shift key. So make sure you've done that. Right, that will now work as a level crossing. It just doesn't look very pretty, because what we actually need to do is move some stuff around a little bit. So I'm going to rotate it first, and let's move that so that it's in around the right place. And then what we can also do is pick up individual bits, which I didn't realise until I saw this tutorial, which I thought was actually rather clever. You can actually pick up individual bits and put them where you want them. So if we take these bits and put them where we want them, then we can take this bit. Don't be awkward. Don't be awkward. You know you want to work. And then put that in there. And then we'll take this bit and put that bit in there. Right, we've now set up a level crossing. Now what we need to make a level crossing work is we need a train. So this piece of track is actually set up one direction, travel in one direction. So we're going to go back to scenario mode, and even though this is a free roam, you can give scenario instructions to a free roam train. It's not strictly the right thing to do, but you can do it. As I said, it's a big route, so it takes a little while to save. I knew someone would get excited about One Direction. Alright, so let's go back to Crystal Palace. Flip round, and it's over around about here somewhere. There it is. So we follow this track up here, and then we're going to drop in a 375. Let's just do a little one. No, that's 12. That's the exact opposite of a little one. It is going to work. It's just taking its time. That's it. So, if we put this 375 up here, give it a driver, and then we're going to timetable. Service 2 is the only one we need to give a driver. Let's find him. So we want him to drive down here and then stop at Norwood. Norwood is that local station. Haha! So let's just tell him to stop here. Now I would suggest obviously that you write a standard scenario with this sort of thing, so that you can have lots more AI and do all sorts of different things. But in the meantime, we are now going to run the scenario. And we are going to get into our milk float. We're going to start driving. See, Roger, can you set a catchment? I don't think you can configure it, no. I think those things are actually buried in the innards of the blueprints. So you notice the gate crossing is down. Here he comes. So hopefully at some point down here. The gates don't make a noise, Coplopamel. I think that's by popular demand. Once the train's gone far enough away, the gates go up, and then we can go. Now there's nothing to stop me just go ahead and driving straight through it, and I think basically what would happen is I would crash into the train. But you can add that kind of thing into your scenarios, and it just makes them feel a little bit more like you're working in and about the railway. So yes, you're driving a milk float, you're not driving a train, but you will you can make it feel part of like you're actually there, which is quite cool. Right, I think that's probably about as much as I'm probably going to cover on this. Obviously, to get rid of the fence, you just come back out and swap that inroad.bin back in, and then reload the game, and the fence won't be there, but the road will still be fine. But I would recommend leaving the fence there until you're absolutely finished, because it makes editing it a million times easier. Obviously, this bridge is an example of where you may wish to customize the route to your needs. Okay, that's pretty much all I'm going to do. Am I going to upload this to Workshop? I wasn't planning on it, no. I might do go back to my other one that I started on, which actually travels. The one that I've actually started building does all of this. It comes down here. One of the other tricks I did here was I chose the left lane to about here, and then I chose the right lane over here, and then drew a point in a junction that would actually merge it across. So as you were driving down here, it actually flicks you over onto the other lane to travel past these cars, and then up here it flicks you back onto the left lane again. So you can do that. It's just the same techniques that you use for slightly more advanced track laying. And then my one sort of goes up to here is where my one finishes at the moment. So what I might do is finish it off a little bit, and then I'll be able to upload it. Why can you not use buses or cars instead of a milk float? You can use anything you want, but only the milk float is actually supplied. So if you want to use buses and cars, then you need to get into those files and hacking about with them to make them do what you want. Good night, Serge UK. Thanks for joining. Right. Right, so that is how you make your own milk float stuff. So I expect to see a great deal of milk float things appearing on Workshop, and then I want to run them on the stream. So if you've put together a milk float upgrade for a route, then give me a pointer to it, and we'll get that running on the stream so we can take a look. Right, so let's get on with the first scenario of the evening. Once I've exited this. Ruben Davey, I should say the milk float is part of the Portsmouth Direct line. So the assets I'm using are for Guildford and